Let's get this thing rolling. Thank you so much, Tobias from Ghost. It's so great to see you. I heard you weren't feeling well the other day. How you doing now?
I'm good now. I mean, I still have a little bit of sniffle, but yeah, I've been knocked out as most people have been lately, like completely floored
On the
with
NyQuil, using the NyQuil to get yourself right. Yeah, no, I totally understand it.
yeah.
Um, so big things going on with Ghost. It's not a great time to be sick. So hopefully you are on the mend. But big things coming out with Ghost here. The new album, the sixth Psalm from Ghost, Skeleta, drops on April 25. What can you tell me about the new album?
I don't know. What do you want to know? It's just
I would love to know lyrical themes. I would love to know what your goals were coming into this record, that kind of stuff.
right. Last two records were um attributed, I guess they were credited with being uh, clairvoyant, and which is fun and all, and even though it was bad things, most of it, uh, I felt that even though each record that I've ever made has been obviously reflective of whatever I was thinking about, and I think of things big and small, and personal things, but also like bigger worldwide affairs. Uh, and I'm not gonna say that the new record is completely uh, uh, freed of any social commentary. But my thought process, my mindset going into this record was that it was going to be like more primordial um, feelings or states of mind represented, if you will. So,
Okay.
a song about uh, uh, sadness, one song about lust, one song about hate, one song about love, and you know,
Sure.
there,
So there was themes. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, and just because they all the subjects were sort of to the core, to the bone,
Mm.
skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the name, hence the name Skeleta. So it was,
Love it.
so it's somewhat of a reflection record, if you will. There's slight mirroring, but also yeah, very fundamental themes in it.
When you're, so involved in every aspect that is goes from writing, recording, when you're in that, how do you know when a song is done for yourself? I mean, you're all up in that, every aspect of it. Does someone have to go, hey, Tobias, stop. It's perfect. Let it be. Or you know what I'm saying? When do you know to let go and it's done?
It differs from song to song. Um, you it's not very often, and maybe my someone might scoff at this, then just saying like I can tell. I don't know. It's not often that I get told like, oh, completely drop it. It's done. It's done. It's done.
Hmm.
Um, and but I and you most songs has sort of reaches its core. Sometimes it's the opposite as well. You sort of feel that something is done, and then all of a sudden it dawns on you that, oh fuck, like there is that, you almost felt like you were phoning it in because it wasn't done. It was too you got from A to B to C to D too quick, and I try my best to challenge, even though I mean I work with other people. I have some good friends of mine who I invite into the writing process, and I show them a song, and like we bounce off each other, and take it. Of course I get guidance from someone I trust. Um, but I always try to challenge myself as well. I have a few people that I've worked with previously, producers and songwriters that even though they weren't involved in this record, I still have like that person sort of sitting on my shoulder somewhere, just like I can hear that person like, "Mm-mm,
Hmm.
this is so typically you."
Hmm.
And
What?
all of a sudden I
I would
hear
love
that
to know an
too.
example of that, though. What's an example of that?
I think in most creative people have an MO or like a go-to.
Sure, sure.
As a comedian, you might sort of easily fall into fart jokes or whatever it is that you just do because writing songs, writing jokes, writing books, writing films, whatever, being a storyteller is I guess you can easily just say that you're on the spectrum, but it's also like if you want to disregard everything that has to do with that, it is a spasm. If you're like a professional, you have the luxury of being able to compartmentalize your jokes um, or your songs into neatly folded albums that you can present.
Hmm.
Here is my collection of new songs they're all intuitive, but making those records, making those jokes, making that show, your verite performance, it starts with just a decks of cards just being thrown up into the fan.
You get,
That's how that's how
yeah,
you
they
write.
get all chopped up, and then you grab little pieces, kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah, sure.
that's why, a painter's workshop looks like a fucking mess.
Yeah.
That's how it looks in here because you just uh you just work with everything you have at the same time. And with time you learn how to come up with an idea that you feel like, oh, that's good. I just put it there, and then I have another idea there, and it's just filled with these small things scattered, and and then what I like to do, and as many other, I'm sure that's how Lennon McCartney did, and Jagger Richards, and all these people. You just throw ideas at people like the other one. I have a song like that. You like it? Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's missing something. Oh, okay, missing something. How about if I throw this in? No? Okay, how about this then? You like it more now?
Mm,
I like
gotcha.
it more now. And then
Okay.
you're and that's and with experience, you learn how to do a little bit of that yourself because you
Sure.
know that, you know, he wouldn't like this. I I know that if I showed him this, this would be so even I can hear now this
That
is so
goes back to that person on your shoulder, right? That person's there talking in your ear.
typical.
Sure.
This is such a typical me idea. Is it a good thing? Maybe. If it's surrounded by five not me ideas, it might be good. But if I put three of my typical things next to each other, it becomes very repetitive.
Are you a perfectionist in the studio, or can you let things go a little bit?
Uh, uh, Now I hear someone on my shoulder saying like, yeah, no. Uh,
Sure, sure.
I am a perfectionist. I can let things go, but if I don't like it, I will definitely come back and say no.
Okay.
Like if I don't like it, if I can because I want to play ball. I want to be I don't want to be a naysayer. I don't want to not play. I don't want to not listen or I don't want to not, you know, go all the yards, but often I feel my intuition is also like we can play around for a day and still I might circle back to exactly where I wanted it to be. And I'm prepared to get my idea challenged. Um, and if I change my mind, I don't like become sad or anything. Um, but if I believe that your idea or your change or what you are suggesting is not correct, I will. definitely add a day of studio time just to fucking correct it.
Good for you. I
So
dig that. So
yeah.
I got to, speaking of, obviously the new album, Skeleta, the first single, Satanized. I got to hear that the other day for the first time, and dude, so good, so good. And I loved the guitar, the guitar solo. It really reminded me of maybe Iron Maiden solo or Scorpions or something. Tell me a little bit about, the first single and how does it represent the next evolution of Ghost?
Yeah, how do I start? I mean, I when writing songs, I always try to write a song that I wouldn't say haven't heard, but definitely a song that we've never done before to the best of my ability. And that song dates back a few years because it was in the making for Impera. Um, and for Impera, I was working with a friend of mine who was producing, he was going to produce a record, and he came in rather late into the process. So I'd already done um, quite a lot of demos, and thematically, the record was this was COVID time, so it was because of all the traveling restrictions and stuff. We honestly, and this is no secret, but first we had another producer, but he couldn't come to Sweden. I couldn't come to
Ah,
America, so
right, right.
Klaus came in, and because he did Meliora, and he came in rather late. So he got sort of an abundance of songs, and he was like, I like that, I like that, I like that, I like that. Can you tell me about this song? What is this? And some songs I'm like, that's not finished. That's not. But I really think that this song is cool. And I had this song about, and I was like, this is it's kind of like a doom, 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 doom. It's you know,
Anthem like,
yeah. In my what I label it is that like I want it to be like a 1977 Scorpion song. So it's like
right on.
that sort of Uleon Roth sort of that timing of Scorpions. So it has that different sort of 70s vibe. And he was like, I don't really feel it. And I was like, too bad. And but we had so many other songs for the record.
Sure.
So it just fell on the wayside. Um and what I've done many, many times in my career is like I take a song if it doesn't fit, or if I have to sell it, if I have a collaborator, a producer, I'd rather not force it then,
Makes
because
sense.
I know it's
Yeah.
a great song. I know Satanized will be. I know that it has the embryo, the seedling there is good, and
Hmm.
if he doesn't feel it, I don't want it. I don't want it to turn into like something that it's forced, and then we both start hating it. So fuck it. So when making this record, I was like, since I was not making the record with him, and so I was starting fresh. That was definitely one of the first songs on the list. Like I'm gonna finish this, and I showed it to Vincent, who's another collaborator of mine, and he was sort of like, yeah, I love this song. It sounds great, and it fell into to place really quickly. So making the record, I wasn't sure necessarily that that was like, oh, that's the first single. Um, Also because it had a retro vibe that I'm obviously I'm speaking to your listeners, saying that like 1977 Scorpions might not be what you think of, like it might not be on your radar, like
Hmm.
so it might not be the first thing that you think of, but I was definitely thinking that there were other songs on the record that was more active rock radio. Um and
Sure. Sure.
pragmatic here, but
Hmm.
obviously, even though I'm not losing too much sleep over that thought,
Yeah.
obviously the people is. Uh,
Ain't nothing wrong with active rock radio, by the way. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna toot my horn for a second, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, 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 no. Don't get me wrong.
Mm,
It's not that, but when you write songs, you don't sit there thinking about the radio format.
of course.
No.
Yeah.
That will
Yeah.
disable
That'll
you.
eat you up.
Right?
Yeah.
Um, so. upon sort of throwing the record label's way, I was very positively surprised
Mm,
when they were like, "We think Satanized is a great song." Cool. I did know. Okay.
perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I thought that was like my little, okay. All right, cool. I'm happy you
Yeah,
dig
that's
it.
great. That's great. Now I know
Uh,
we don't have a lot of time though, but like I I I would love to dig into that. Truly, that song is just sticking in my head since I heard it the other day. But you have this humor to you. You've always had that. When you're on stage, you know you're jovial. You're always joking around. I've been curious, where does your humor side come from? You know, for me, I loved Benny Hill. I was raised on humor in my house. My dad's still a jokester. Where does that come from for you? Because even in the song Satanized, you have a couple of lines that make you smile, is what I'm saying, you know? And I know when you're on stage, you're going to pull that off in such a unique, cool way.
if I therapeutically go back in time to try to you know get an answer to that, I believe that part of um my my drive to entertain comes from when I grew up. When my I had a 13-year older brother, and he had his group of friends, and there were people around. Often when he was home, there were he had friends and they had girlfriends, and it was just an overall very teenagey vibe when I was little.
Hmm.
And I remember feeling a great um, gratitude, like or great satisfaction when I got their attention and when I got them laughing when
Hmm.
I said something funny.
Okay.
That was amazing. And that is, I think that that's the basic of why do you want to entertain people? I guess it's because, you get recognized and you get um center of attention, I guess. Um, but I think a lot of people, especially if you work, obviously I'm not a comedian, professionally at least, but but I think I like comedians. I think that there's this drive to constantly move everything forward.
Sure.
That becomes a little bit of a spasm. That becomes a little bit of an obsession that you want to constantly keep the vibe going.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have other people there who can joke, and everything becomes just a laugh fest. And sometimes someone is funny to the point where you need to outsmart that person. Um, or sometimes you can just enjoy someone being funnier than you, and but it's a constant mission to push energy forward and make people laugh and have fun
Feel
and
entertained. Yeah.
the momentum joyous all the time.
That's awesome. That's a great answer. I dig that. I want real last, there's many things again I'd love to talk to you about. I'd love to talk to you about the new Papa. I don't know how much you would tell me about that, but of course I would love to know more, and I we will soon, and I know that. But I was thinking about this the other day about I love to binge things on streaming services, and if you started in season 3 of something, you're never going to understand what happened in the beginning if you start in season 3. Relating that to Ghost, if a new Ghost fan comes along and they hear Rats or Cerise first, do you feel like they need to go backwards and know the whole history of Ghost to be a true Ghost fan? Because Ghost fans could be really, elitist at times, you know? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think that we as since we are essentially a rock band, I mean, as opposed to a franchise series. Um, I think that as with any rock or pop, any musical act, just because you hear My Way with Frank Sinatra, it doesn't mean that you have to go back and listen to every Frank Sinatra in order to understand what My Way is about, even though your understanding of that song and why it's so poignant of Frank Sinatra singing it becomes greater if you know who Frank Sinatra is.
Have the roots. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't take away from the experience of anybody hearing it and saying like, I feel like that too. I did it my way. Because you might as well grow up like myself hearing the Sid Vicious version of it. I've
Sure.
heard Frank Sinatra's too, but I feel as fired up when, or even more fired up when I hear Sid Vicious singing it. So no, I don't think that you necessarily need to get anything. If you hear Cerise and that makes you feel good, you don't have to feel anything else for any other song. But I know that when we had a growth uh, spurt with via Mariana Cross and TikTok and all that
Absolutely.
stuff when
Yep.
we had a large influx of new people coming into the folds of fans where of course that sort of triggered that elitism that you're talking about. Uh,
Hmm.
I I was really glad to know that a lot of these kids and grown-ups that came in unbeknownst, but sort of through that song, I was very proud over the fact that we had dug a quite deep hole for people to dive into. Um, that because I can just about imagine if if you're a new band or a new act, a new artist, and you happen to have a song being a success in the same way that that was a success. Um, and you were measured only by that song and the expectancy of you writing another one like that, that can fucking kill you, like
Hmm.
as an artist. Whereas this felt like such a like fluke. You know, I never asked to be like one of the, I've always wanted to set out to be a big band. I always want to I've always set out to and wished for whatever band I'm in to be as big as can be, but it was never like a necessity to like, oh, I want to have like a number one song or like a big hit, and
Hmm.
that's you don't want to be a one big hit wonder.
Sure.
And I must say that that's where I was extra happy that I understand that some people that like that song and they hear Cerise or another song might be like turned off, like, oh shit, what is this?
Hmm.
They don't like that. And as soon as you see the picture of what they look like or what we look like here, meta. Um, and that scares people off. That's fine.
Sure.
Good. But the fact that anybody who was intrigued by what they saw on the next, turning the page on the next song, we had plenty for people to sort of dive into, get lost within, or like or not to like. And
Well, I would think, dude, seriously, with what I've heard so far, with just hearing, the new track Satanized, that old fans, new fans are all gonna love this. You brought something to the table for both ends. So I can't wait to hear the rest of Skeleta that drops on April 25. I know you got to run, my friend, and I would love to ask you a million more questions. So maybe when you're in Minneapolis or somewhere near you and I could catch up again, I would love to speak to you more and more. So thank you for
yeah,
your time today.
thank
And,
you.
and I
Sorry
can't wait to see
for
you
the
live. I
radio
can't wait to.
formatting comment.
Oh, no worries, brother. No worries. I know you got love for sure. Tobias Forge, thank you for your
Okay,
time.
I do. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and have a good night. Good day.